There are minds that obey, minds that follow, minds that break under pressure. And then there are minds so unshakable, so self-possessed. They terrify everyone around them. A mind that doesn't bend, doesn't seek approval, and doesn't shatter when the world throws stones. Because what Nietzsche taught wasn't for the weak. It was for those ready to become something so rare, it unsettles the crowd. A dangerous individual with absolute inner freedom. An insult, and they get angry. A compliment, and they feel valued. Their worth is handed to them like a receipt. But Nietzsche asked a terrifying question. Not because they're violent, not because they speak loudly, but because they're untouchable, immovable. They radiate power without saying a word. Nietzsche believed in building such a mind, not a mind filled with facts, but a mind forged through fire. If you're tired of being at the mercy of other people's opinions, fears, and limitations, keep listening. Most people are walking mirrors. They reflect what others give them. This isn't comfort, it's war. And most people avoid it because comfort is easier than confrontation, even confrontation with yourself. What if you could stand so high above all of this that no word, no look, no judgment could move you? That's not arrogance. That's power. And it begins with one principle. Don't just learn how to think, learn how to fight with thought. The strong mind doesn't collect information. It dissects it. It challenges its own beliefs. It breaks itself down 100 times and rebuilds stronger. He wanted a mirror. He wanted to stare into the abyss and say, "Show me who I am," when there are no crutches left. The strong mind doesn't anchor itself in any of that. It creates its own standard, and then rises above it. But Nietzsche saw comfort as a trap. He said, use it. Stop trying to fix it, hide it, bury it, harness it, let it burn through everything. Fake, everything weak, everything you were told you had to be. He who has a why to live for can bear almost anyhow. So what's your why? Is it approval? Is it applause? Or is it something that can't be taken away? Not afraid to offend. Not afraid to lose. Because if your identity depends on people, status, or success, your mind will always be under threat. To build a terrifyingly strong mind, you have to walk away from one thing most people worship without realizing. Certainty. People crave certainty like oxygen. They want answers. They want guarantees. But Nietzsche didn't. He didn't want a map. But Nietzsche didn't want to be acceptable. He wanted to be free. That's why he wrote, one must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star. They'll call you arrogant, cold, intense. But that's just code for one thing. Who creates values instead of adopting them? In other words, stop fearing the chaos inside you. But Nietzsche wanted to cut every one of those threads until the mind stood alone, naked, wild, and unstoppable. Now imagine what you'd become if you didn't run from any of it. A terrifying mind isn't clean. It's scarred. It's imperfect. But it's sovereign. It's not afraid to be alone. The loneliness, because it already gave up the illusion that comfort is safety. It isn't. We're trained to be liked. From the moment we're born, we're told how to speak, dress, behaved, be acceptable. Because their power doesn't come from winning battles, it comes from not needing to fight them. And here's the truth. Freedom is terrifying to those who've never tasted it. The moment you stop seeking validation, people won't know what to do with you. They can't control you anymore. Who doesn't obey inherited beliefs? You don't chase approval. You don't fold under pressure. And that makes you unpredictable. Dangerous. Most minds are held together by invisible threads. Fear of rejection. Fear of failure. Fear of being misunderstood. He called it the Bermensch, the overman. Not a tyrant, not a brute, but a human who evolves past the herd. Imagine what it takes to become that. Imagine the silence you'd have to face. The rejection. He wanted solitude. Because in solitude, you confront the raw material of who you are. That's how you build a mind that terrifies people, but not compliant. You walk into the fire they run from and you keep walking. But not naive. But not weak. Nietzsche knew people don't fear strength. He wanted clarity. They fear independence. And that's the hardest war you'll ever fight. Because if you're independent, you can't be manipulated. You can be kind, generous, especially the parts of yourself you wish weren't there. Quiet. That's the paradox. The strongest minds rarely need to shout. They don't argue. They don't explain themselves. Nietzsche wasn't interested in dominating others. He was interested in mastering the self. The war between your instincts and your ideals. Your fears and your values. Your past and your potential. Even if it means walking alone into the unknown. But, because once you taste the power of truth, your truth, there's no going back. But when you win that war, the world can no longer touch you. There's a moment in life where you have to choose. Only if you face everything, Question everything. The moment you feel finished, start again. Not in classrooms. Face discomfort, but in silence. Carry pain without complaining. Every failure is fire. Most people run, but the terrifying mind, it welcomes it, because it knows. Walk into rejection, in struggle. In the moments where you're tempted to break hand, you choose to rebuild. He believed that true growth demands that you constantly recreate yourself. The deeper the power that can be extracted from it. Predictable habits, predictable opinions, predictable personalities. But Nietzsche challenged that. Do I keep living to be accepted, or do I rise to be exceptional? Stop being predictable. But because you've become immune to the things that control them, the terrifying mind chooses the second. Not for ego. The moment you feel certain, don't wait for the world to catch up. You start saying no more often. Not twice, but again and again, like a phoenix. From truth. Challenge yourself. From your self-lead, you start walking alone. You stop apologizing for existing. People won't understand. Some will leave. That's fine. Nietzsche never wanted a crowd, and that's where transformation happens. Not in books. That's how you forge the kind of mind no one can cage. Who faces criticism and doesn't flinch. Who faces life, not with a shield, but with fire in your chest. Here's something Nietzsche believed that most people are too afraid to admit. From pain. Suffering isn't your enemy, it's your sculptor. You want to be sharp, you want to be unshakable, you want to be strong. Every hardship is a hammer. The deeper the pain, but only if you don't numb yourself, only if you don't escape. Do that long enough, and your very presence will make others uncomfortable, not because you're mean. Want to be terrifying. Society teaches routine, not once. The moment you feel safe. Because the mind that terrifies others is the mind that evolves while everyone else stays the same. Don't wait for permission. That's where Nietzsche lived. That's where legends are born. Now pause. Ask yourself, what part of your mind have you been protecting out of fear? What truth have you been avoiding? What pain are you still running from? If you want to build a mind that terrifies people not because it's loud, but because it's untouchable, you have to stop hiding. You have to become the kind of person who walks into silence and smiles.